Welcome to Follow the Action. I am John Layfield, proud to be part of this crew, and I got a pocket full of money right now because our guys last week absolutely killed it. We don't have guys who play experts on television. We have the experts. We have the pillars, the shakers, and the movers of the gambling industry of the past several decades. When you hear about sharp money, when you hear about where sharp money is going, our guys are the ones that they are talking about. And let's get straight to the intro. None bigger than the Philly Godfather, Joey Odessa, Harry Mays, the Rooster, and Matt Maltepes. We have been downloaded in over 2,000 cities, over 60 countries, and all 50 states. You can also get all types of exclusive tips, all types of info on our YouTube channel because we are simply the best. And we don't apologize for it. Philly Godfather, you look like thug life right now. You ready to go, my man?
Ready to fire, man. I'm out here in Franklin, Pennsylvania in the middle of a snow blizzard, but everything's good, John.
Philly Rooster, you got your wine with you?
I'm ready to go. As you know, it's after 5 p.m. Eastern, so.
And Harry Mays, you got your Boone's Farm?
Yeah, actually, I got a virgin vodka club with a little cranberry.
Damn you, man. Well, let's get straight to one of the biggest weekends of the year. And so the year is short, but you take in the last 12 months, it's still one of the biggest weekends of the year because we got Mr. Conor McGregor on Fight Island. And we got the best combat sports handicapper in the world. And let's get straight to Abu Dhabi. We will get to Conor McGregor last. We will also get to both NFL playoff games at the end of this show. But first, Abu Dhabi. We got Mr. Dan Hooker in a lightweight match against Michael Chandler. Dan Hooker is 20-9, the New Zealander, last lost to Dustin Poirier, who's fighting Conor McGregor. 20-9, as I said, the hangman from New Zealand, Dave Mason from Bet Online. Dave Mason, for those of you that don't know, Dave Mason apparently is in a lair somewhere under the Inca temples. We're not sure exactly where, but we can't put him on camera. So Dave Mason from Bet Online, where do you have the money and the odds on this fight?
Yeah, current odds, Dan Hooker minus 137 and Michael Chandler making his UFC debut at plus 117. Over under 2.5 rounds. The over's minus 120, under minus 110. The public's on Hooker. The public's on Hooker. 76% of the cash so far is on Hooker, and including actually sharps are on the other side. Chandler plus 130 or better. Like I said, he's currently plus 117, so he has some reverse line movement there. And the over's getting bet. 87% of the cash is on over 2.5. Like I said, minus 120.
Joey, I know you like hookers, so let's get straight to I'm joking, Joey. You killed the UFC last week, middle of the week. You killed UFC as well. What do you got in this first lightweight matchup, Joey?
Well, you're seeing that reverse line movement there on Chandler. Hooker fought Poirier tough as nails. Hooker's been, 5 rounds his last 2 fights he beat. Anyways, Michael Chandler hasn't started round 2 since 2018. He's somewhat chinny. He's coming over from Bellator. First time, I guess, I don't know if it's his first time in Dubai, but his first time fighting on this stage of the UFC. I don't think that, I hate to be with the public money, but I think that Hooker here is the right side. I think that unless Chandler wrestles really effectively, start to finish, I think Hooker's going to piece him up. I like Dan Hooker here.
Newsflash, we like hookers here at Follow the Action. Next fight is a lightweight matchup. Again, a hooker is not in it. Mr. Dan Hooker, that would be. Nasrat, I can't even think about pronouncing his last name. He's an Afghanistan southpaw. He's 12-3 against Arman, and I can't even think about pronouncing his name either. He is 15-2. Mr. Dave Mason from Bet Online, where do you have the odds and the money here?
Nasrat is currently the plus 250 dog. Arman is minus 300 favorite. The over-under is over-under 2.5 with over at minus 225. 86% of the cash is on Arman, and 90% of the cash is on over 2.5. Once again, minus 225. Nothing too sharp here at Bet Online.
Joey, what do you got on this fight, and can you pronounce the last names?
Arman Sarakian. That's my man.
Done.
That's the Russian kid. Look, this Russian Arman came in and he fought Islam Makhachev, okay? Back in, when was it? It was back in 2019, his UFC debut. I said in that fight, I said, before they even fought, I said, you will never see this Arman kid as an underdog in the UFC. I don't know. I mean, maybe it was a bold statement, but I tell you what, Sarakian is the real deal. He's got a great chin, comes from a freestyle wrestling base, Russian. I think that he's going to take Nasrat, and I think he's going to. I think he can stand with Nasrat. Look, Nasrat's known for his power, aggression. Sarakian's got a great chin. I think he'll beat him. I think that Sarakian is the right side at open minus 300. It got bet down at one point in the past week or so. It was like minus 165. It's back up to minus 300. It was like minus 275 yesterday. I think that Sarakian's the right side here. Afghanistan, Russia, rehash the Cold War. Anyways, I like Sarakian.
You're saying Russia will win this time?
This time, yes. I had to bet him the first time too. I mean, they were. Afghanistan was a little outgunned. I think they're outgunned Saturday night too.
Too bad Charlie Wilson isn't around to help this time.
No.
Next fight is a lightweight matchup again. One of the two undefeated fighters on the card, and I don't want to butcher his name. It's Ottoman Azatar, I believe is how you pronounce it. They call him the Moroccan Bulldog. He is 13-0, taking on the American Matt Frivola, who is 8-1-1. Dave Mason from Bet Online. Where do you have the money and the odds, please?
Current odds, Azatar is minus 156. The take back on Frivola is plus 136. Over under 1.5 rounds, over minus 155. And the public is on Azatar. 80% of the early cash is on him at minus 156, like I said. And another over one getting bet. 85% of the early cash is on over 2.5 rounds. Minus, what did I say? Or actually minus, 2.5 minus 245, is it? Sorry. Oh, no. My over 1.5 minus 155. Sorry about that.
And Joey, are you with the public on this?
Well, I think that Azatar is the right side here. Opened like minus 115. It's up to what? 155 now. It was as high as minus 200. We saw on Wednesday night, we saw one undefeated fighter go down in Max Jones. They pounded Max Jones against Mike Davis. The decision was right, 29-28 decision. I think we're in this position here. I think that Matt Frivola from Huntington, Long Island. I don't know if anything good really ever came out of Huntington, Long Island. They had a good wrestling program. But anyways, Matt Frivola, Huntington, Long Island. I think he's going to walk into something in this fight. I think that Azatar is going to put him away. I like Azatar here to win, and I like under 2.5 a little bit. 2.5's under what? Minus 150? Did you say, Dave?
Actually, we have a 1.5 under over 1.5 minus 155 under plus 125.
Okay, yes, that's a good number. I wouldn't touch the 1.5, but I think under 2.5 is pretty solid play here. Frivola's he's got to wrestle Frivola, and he's going to be walking in this German kid. I mean, he's throwing bombs, everything he throws. I like Azatar here.
Last fight before we get to the main event is Mahmoud Muradov. He is 24-6. It is a middleweight matchup against Andrew Sanchez, who is 13-5. Dave Mason from Bet Online. Where do you have the money and the odds, please?
Current odds, Muradov is minus 140 and Sanchez is paying out at plus 120. Over under 2.5 rounds. The over is minus 156. Muradov's getting bet early. 91% of the early cash is on Muradov. 86% of the early cash is on the over.
Joey, what do you got in this fight?
I bet the Uzbekistan kid, Muradov. I laid $1.30 on him. He's 24-6. He hasn't lost a fight since like 2015, 5 years. He beat Alessio Di Chirico, the Italian that pulled the upset over the highlight reel Buckley last week.
Which you called, by the way, a nice dog bet.
Yeah, he got there. Again, those highlight reels, I mean, they play into our favor. Those preview shows and things. You watch it, and I tell you what, if you sit down and you watch these preview shows long enough, they'll put you on they'll talk you out of your side. I mean, it happens. I don't like to make like late bets unless I plan them out early. Like if I planned on betting Max Holloway late on the wire, but as I'm sitting there watching the program and you see these highlight reels and things, and you hear these guys talking, a lot of times it can put you off a winning side. And, on occasion, it could put you on a loser, especially with these totals, because they're pumping out there that these guys are going to be devastating knockout punchers, things like that. But I like Muradov here, the Uzbekistan kid. I think he'll beat Andrew Sanchez. I'm surprised that it's still $1.30. That it's in that ballpark. I think it's reasonable. I think he belongs at least 2-1.
Well, let's get to the main event, and that is Mr. Dustin Poirier against Mr. Conor McGregor. Dave Mason from Bet Online. We talked about Masvidal during the pandemic. It was the biggest bet fight that you had, period, at Bet Online. Before we get to the odds and where the money's going, how does this fight compare as far as the volume?
I think it will exceed it. It was that was the biggest bet card of all time. I'm not sure about fight. I don't think it was the fight
Card,
was
yeah.
the biggest bet, but card was definitely the biggest. We shattered records. It's hard to kind of compare the COVID cards versus the non-COVID cards because that was the only dang thing going during those months. There weren't as many actives on the site, but every active that was on the site was betting UFC on those Saturday nights. This will beat that, I think. Overall, definitely a fight. Definitely the fight. The biggest bet fight we've ever did for MMA was McGregor Habib, and this has a shot at that. I mean, this is coming during a big weekend. You know, we have a lot of NFL traffic on the site, so our actives numbers are through the roof, and there's not a lot going on Saturday. So, you know, all that NFL traffic is waiting around till the Sunday game, so they're getting down on Saturday. Sure, there's basketball, sure, there's golf, and some other hockey, etc. But everybody's gonna be watching this fight, so I think it will definitely be the biggest bet fight and the biggest bet. I think it will beat that Masvidal card for the biggest bet card in the history of Bet Online as well.
Joey, what do you have in this big main event?
Wow, Conor McGregor. I mean, everything he said he was going to do, he did. I mean, he's an amazing athlete, a very, very good fighter. I mean, talked himself into that Mayweather bout in 2017. Seems like that bout was only yesterday, but he talked himself into that multi-million-dollar payday against Mayweather. He's got to, he beat Poirier once before. And I said the other night when Max was, I said, it's tough to beat a guy twice in a row. I think that, again, look, I was on the wrong side of McGregor in all those fights. When he fought Mendez, when he fought Aldo, I wasn't on the wrong side. I got it all back when he fought Khabib and Floyd, when he boxed Floyd and when he fought Khabib. I think at this point in their career, this is not the same Dustin Poirier that Conor fought, 5 years ago. The problem that I have here is that I think Conor's just a better fighter. Dustin's got to last. Look, those first 2 rounds are going to be critical. If Dustin can get out of those first 2 rounds, I think you got a live dog there, a real live dog. Because Conor, he fades. He's been known to fade. I think that Dustin has to get out of those first 2 rounds. I think that if you like Dustin, you'd probably be better served betting the over. Because I don't see Dustin stopping him. I think McGregor can stop him. I mean, McGregor's talking, it's crazy. McGregor's talking about Max Holloway. He's talking about Khabib. He's talking about everybody except Dustin right now. And when you look at it, I mean, Poirier just beat Max. Well, he didn't just beat him, but he beat him a few bouts ago. I think that Dustin Poirier is going to be live here. Whether he beats him, I'm not going to be on the fence. I'm going in with Dustin Poirier. I got to go in with Dustin Poirier. At some point, the partying, the sideshow has to catch up with Conor McGregor. I mean, some guys thrive in that environment. Floyd, the more chaotic his life is, the better he fights. I think Conor McGregor maybe draws gets motivated by these outside distractions. I like Dustin Poirier here, and especially the number. It opened 170. It's up to -300. You wait for some more of that UK Euro money to come in on Conor. I mean, they back him like crazy. Yeah. They thought he was going to beat Floyd. I mean, so, what do you expect here?
It could keep going up, too. I mean, 91% of the early money is on McGregor. I mean, he's taking more money here at Bet Online than the other 23 fighters on this card combined. So you add up all the money on all these other 23 fighters, including Dustin Poirier, and there's more money on Conor McGregor. So, we always trust the sharp action and everything. We really haven't seen too much sharp action on this yet. Some early guys got on McGregor just at -170, whatever the price is, but it could keep going up, Joey. I mean, if it's that one-sided, I don't think it'll go too much because I think the sharper side will be on Poirier. It's just he's too good of a fighter, and like you said, if it goes long, McGregor can fade. So you're exactly right, and Poirier can go into deep waters. McGregor, 5-round fights, he'll fade.
I mean, he's supposed to. I mean, yeah, he didn't get to those late rounds with a lot of the guys he fought, But in this case, I mean, look, Poirier, the game plan, he's got to know what the blueprint is. Both these guys, southpaws, not to X know it, but I mean, look, we watched Conor lose to Diaz. We watched Conor get beat before. He's human. And coming into this fight, there are distractions. I don't know. I don't think that anybody sharp is going to lay more than 3-1 on Conor McGregor. It's tough to lay that big of a number. And if it keeps going up, I mean, they give you no choice but to bet the dog there and take the buyback. I like Poirier here. I don't love it. I'll probably wait till late near post to bet it, hope that more money comes in on him. And you know what? You just saw Conor's getting sued by somebody now, and he's got these lawsuits going on. And you'll hear these guys going, oh, well, Conor's got distractions and this and that. Look, it's all in the number. I don't see anybody running out, jumping on Poirier just because of that lawsuit he's going through. It's a cash grab.
Sorry, Philly Godfather, do you or Matt, Rooster or Harry, do you guys biggest fight coming along in the last maybe 12 months? You guys got any leaning on this or placing a bet either way?
Man, I can't go against Joey. I mean, the way he breaks down the fights, he's probably the best combat handicap in the world. But I'll tell you one thing: I've never seen Conor McGregor in this type of shape in my life. I've seen pictures of him. I've never seen him this shredded before. I mean, he's motivated. He wants to prove the world, wrong. He's always got a chip on his shoulder. Just the price is a little too high. That's all. But I got to go with Joey here.
Well, do know one thing, Philly Godfather. You got one of your guys, one of the boxers, a couple of undefeated fighters coming up this weekend. Tell us about that and your leans. Obviously, you're leaning toward your guy, but tell us which one your guy is.
Yeah, Stephen Fulton's a good friend of mine. I actually helped him win the title when he fought Paulo Abunda in Washington, D.C. He's fighting against Leo. Leo's got the belt because Stephen got COVID last time. He couldn't fight him, and Leo went in there against, I think the kid was named Williams, and he beat him. He beat a tough kid that was 19.
Jermaine Williams, yeah.
But the reality is I think Stephen's the much better fighter, much better pedigree. He's fought 8 guys who were undefeated during his 18-0 record. He punches harder. He's more battle-tested. He comes from the street. He had a tougher way up. While Leo's only fought 2 guys that were undefeated in his whole entire career. And I know Joey told me earlier the odds were plus 400 for a Fulton stoppage, and I think Steven stops him. I'd love to take that plus 400. I've talked to them in camp. He's never felt better. He's never trained harder. He's been in the best shape of his life. And you guys got to remember one thing. Leo had COVID about a month ago, so a little over a month ago. So he didn't have enough time to train like Steven's been training nonstop. And we don't know how his lungs are going to react during this fight. So Stephen Fulton, if you want to lay the price, if you want to take him by stoppage, I think it's a no-brainer.
Hey, and Dave Mason for Bet Online. I know you guys got the fight up on your site. What are the odds for this fight?
Fulton's a minus 165 favorite. Now Leo is plus 135. We're going to be fans of Fulton this weekend. So I'm glad to hear Philly Godfather's confidence there because we'll be rooting for the same guy.
I got no doubt in my mind, Dave. He's an inch and a half taller. He's got 2-inch reach advantage. He punches harder, and he's been training nonstop. And this is his opportunity to seize the moment, and he's going to take and he's going to run with it, man. This kid's the next Floyd Mayweather.
Beautiful.
Joy, you like that Fulton as well?
Well, here's my thoughts on this fight. They're fighting up. The fight's up in Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. The judges up there. Leo's last fight was at Mohegan Sun, so they've seen him before. I don't know what goes on after the fights. You know what I mean? How much interaction these guys might have, the after parties and whatnot. He comes in here and he's one of Floyd's guys. Floyd's promoting this fight with TGB, I guess, whatever that is. Anyway, TGB and Feldman. I mean, when I hear these names, Glenn Feldman, Don Trella, Westfield, Ackerman, I'm thinking to myself, look, this total in this fight is like 10.5 over 400, which would be like figured to go the distance is probably minus 350. Because if a fight goes 10.5, it usually goes 11.5 the distance. Anyways, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, you know what, Fulton might win, 7 of the 12 rounds convincingly, and walk out of there with a draw. I mean, they're not beyond robbing him. They tried to rob Fulton in the past. I don't know why.
They tried to rob him in Texas against Canelito.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's Angelo Leo. Both these guys are undefeated. And, Leo's not a great puncher. He's got, 9 KOs in his 20 bouts. I think Fulton wins his fight minus 155. But I guess what would you call it? The cynic in me wants to bet the draw at 17-1 and take a shot.
Hey, and Harry, just for the record here, Texas doesn't cheat in anything. Just ask the Astros, the SMU Mustang football team. We don't cheat in anything. So I don't like this disparaging word for the Philly Godfather. I don't want to disagree with him here. But
Well, listen, I'm not worried about Floyd trying to fix anything because Wahid Raheem trained Stephen Fulton, and Wahid Raheem's brother, Zaire Raheem, and he was in the Olympics with Floyd Mayweather, and they're two of the best friends in the world. So there's a little friendship there going on. So I don't think they're going to rob Stephen here, and I think Stephen knocks him out, drops him. It's going to be a body shot, liver shot. So remember this conversation. He stops him with a liver shot.
What if there's a liver shot? He called his shot like the Bambino at Wrigley Field. I love it. Let's go to the other side of the country. Let's go over to La Quinta in California, the Amex Championship. The PGA is there after a couple weeks in Hawaii. West TPC course at La Quinta. Andrew Landry is the defending champion, and he will be there. He missed the cut last week. But Harry Mays, the host of the best golf podcast in the world, Swing It and Ding It, is the podcast. What do you got this week, Harry?
Yeah, last week we cashed on Charles Howell III on a top 20 at plus 200 and missed out on a 5-foot putt for our top 5 bet on Colin Morikawa because he missed that 5-foot putt on the 72nd hole. That's the challenge of wagering on golf. But we're back on the mainland. As you said, Southern California. I've actually been out here. I played PGA West. It's a fantastic facility. They're only using 2 golf courses this weekend because of the COVID situation. Normally they spread this around on 3 golf courses and then come back to PGA West for the final round. It's usually a 3-round cut. That's now down to a regular 2-round cut. Something to keep in mind with some of your plays. Par 5 scoring is going to be at a premium. Scores are going to be low. These guys are going to go low. You need to take guys that aren't afraid to go low. Patrick Cantlay is the favorite at plus 1,300 because John Rahm withdrew earlier in the week. He was the favorite coming in. Injured himself in a workout at the gym early in the week and is now out of the tournament. The last 2 winners, you mentioned Andrew Landry. John, he was 200-1 last year. And Adam Long, the winner 2 years ago, was 500-1. In fact, the average winner of the last decade of this tournament has been north of 125-1. So long shots do come true at PGA West. And a long shot that I'm looking at is Sepp Straka. He's plus 8,500 to win. Plus 350 on a top 20. He actually finished tied for 4th last year in this event. And Aaron Wise is another one. He's won a couple of tournaments already. Good West Coast player, played at Oregon. He's plus 7,000 to win. Those are just 2 guys. As far as long shots, you might want to keep your eye on. The guy I really like to win the tournament is a Texas Longhorn, John. And he's the rookie of the year, the reigning rookie of the year on the PGA Tour, still looking for his first win. That's Scotty Scheffler. Plus 1,700 to win. I'll also throw a plus 250 in a top 10. He was tied for 13th at the Century a couple of weeks ago in Hawaii, and he was 3rd at this tournament last year in 2020. In fact, he's been top 20 in 8 of his last 12 events, so he's playing really good golf. He comes in with great form, and I think he could rack up his first win on tour. Matthew Wolff is another guy that I really like. He is so unafraid to go low. He fires at every stick. Regardless of his crazy swing, he's so fun to watch. Plus 300 on a top 10 is definitely going to be one of my plays. And Patrick Reed, I can't avoid him. He's so good, a short game. He's got all the shots, can move it both ways. Had a shin splint issue in Hawaii. Had to skip the Sony, but it's given him a little bit of extra prep time for this. And he's won this event previously a couple of years ago. He's plus 225 on a top 10. Those are just some of my plays. Now, John, you got to answer me something here because I know you're a shrewd investor. And I'm confused today. I know there was an inauguration of a Democratic president and the markets went crazy. You got to tell me why.
It's because we see what it looks like in the markets, what everybody believes. That's why the markets are going up. We see an anomaly in the presidential market cycle. So normally you don't like a consolidation of power. You don't like Democrats to all be in charge. There's an average historic market return around 4.3% with the Democrats having consolidation of power. 9% is the average market return when you have some type of balance of power. So our forefathers were pretty smart in the fact you don't want Democrats or Republicans all to hold consolidation of power because they tend to do stupid things when there's not some other side balancing them. But what the market sees right now is it looks like we're going to get everything positive and nothing negative from a President Biden administration, at least for the first couple of years based upon history. So you look at what's going on. Now, we had crazy spending before the pandemic. The debt doubled under Bush. It doubled under Obama. It's back to $1 trillion deficits under Trump. So under Republicans and Democrats, they spend money like crazy. There's no difference between the two. The difference now is we're going to get incredible stimulus that's going to come in. We're going to get stimulus coming in. The Fed is going to continue to pump liquidity into the system, and you have low interest rates. Combine that with a global economy resurgence because we're going to be coming out of a pandemic. The global savings rate is the highest it's ever been. The U.S. savings rate is double what it normally is, around 14 to 15% is what it was this past year, because there's nothing to spend money on. What are you gonna do? Buy a car that you don't need and sit it in your car and have nowhere in your driveway and have nowhere to go?
I do it all the time, John. What are you talking about?
Well, Godfather does, and he takes pictures of it and puts it on Twitter, which I love. I want to be the Godfather. I also want to be Philly Rooster. Those are my two goals in life. I'm going to achieve both of them. So you got pent-up demand here that is akin to, say, the end of World War II or World War I. The bad part about, say, a Democratic administration is typically more regulations and tax hikes. Under President Obama, we didn't see that until late in his first term because he knew it was not politically palatable. We're going to probably see the same thing with President Biden. So it's going to be kicked off a couple years. So it looks like we got 2 years of all the good, almost none bad. That's why the market loves it right now. And the stocks that I've loved, like GM and Ford, I mentioned GM and Ford, but here on this podcast, when it was about $30, said it was going to double. It's 55 right now. It's right on its way. Ford, I think, is going to double as well. I mentioned it at $9. It's about $11 today. The reason is because of the EV market and the autonomous market. Google and Apple are getting into the autonomous driving market. They don't know how to manufacture cars. They don't have Elon Musk working for them, building their own manufacturing facility. They're probably going to buy a company like Ford for $40 billion. They can write a check for that. So I think there's a good chance one of these companies get an acquisition, or because of what's going on in China, the EV market is going to take off because GM makes more cars in China right now than they do in the United States. So I think those companies to me are doubles, but the key thing here is be in the market. That's why you're seeing so many SPACs over worthless companies with no real revenue worth billions of dollars because money is chasing something that it can't catch right now, and that's return. And so I think you're going to see the market do it incredibly well. And that's why the market has been up this week, irregardless of who the president is. The big thing, though, also is the money I got in my pocket from last week because our guys killed the NFL. I'm telling you, it was insane what Rooster, Godfather, you, Harry Mays, and Matt Montepes did. The 8-ball killed the NFL. So let's go to Sunday's games. Let's start off with the guy that Philly Rooster loves when I call him the GOAT. The GOAT, Tom Brady. Philly Rooster, man, just have another glass of wine. Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers playing up in Lambeau Field. Dave Mason from Bet Online. What do you have on the NFL?
The Packers are currently 3-point favorites, minus 123. The money line is Packers minus 174, take back plus 154, and the over/under is 51. As far as the cash, it looks like we're going to be Buccaneers fans. 68% of the early money is on the Packers minus the points. 70% of the early money is on the Packers outright. 73% of the cash is on over 51, like I said. And we did take some sharp action on the other side. Buccaneers at plus 3.5 and plus 4.
Hey, and Dave, I forgot this week, like I did last week, to go to you on golf. I apologize. Bet Online has a great golf book as well. Do you still have the odds pulled up for the golf? If you do, run over to like the top favorites real quick, please.
Top favorites are Scotty Scheffler and who else here? Uh, Sorry, but I closed
That's
them.
okay. I
I know
forgot
Scheffler's a
to go
favorite.
to you
Plus,
on golf. I got so excited that
I was fired up. I was fired up listening to your stock stuff, man. I forgot about it too, so don't worry about it.
I'm telling you, man, when you get a chance to talk to the real
Cantley and Scheffler both 14-1. They're both the co-favorites. We have our exposures are on Tringale at 66-1. That's just the long shot money. Sam Burns 45-1. Matthew Wolf 22-1. Doc Redmond 66-1, and Scheffler 14-1. Those are our biggest exposures as of now.
And let's go back straight back to the NFL, which we deviated from because I forgot to mention Mr. McVay Mason for Bet Online about the golf odds being La Quinta. So let's go to the guy let's go to the GOAT. Let's go to the GOAT of Philly Rooster. He is the GOAT. And let's talk about the potential GOAT in Tom Brady. Rooster, who you got this week? Brady, Rodgers.
Before I start on the game, I just want to say, you mentioned Dallas or Texas cheating. If they are cheaters, then they are the worst cheaters in the NFL history with the Dallas Cowboys history. But all right,
I threw you a softball on that one.
yeah,
I'm outnumbered by the entire state of Philadelphia here. It's not fair.
yeah. All right. So anyway, this game's really interesting to me because I'm all about coaching quarterback when it comes to the playoffs, especially the late rounds. And in this case, it's really quarterback against quarterback. The coach is not going to come into play because both of these coaches have basically admitted that they're letting their quarterbacks coach the team. Now, in both of these matchups this week, by coincidence, they both played each other in week 6, which is crazy. And the way this one plays out for me on the Packers, if they do not get the running game going, which they could not do in week 6, and that's why they lost the game, then they're in big trouble. Now, a lot of things have changed. The Packers offensive line has been playing a lot better. There's basically no pressure on Rodgers the last couple weeks. He's been able to sit back there and pick apart the defenses. But this is a different defense. I mean, this is the number one offense against the number one defense when you look at the last 4 weeks of the season. And when I look at a game like this where home field advantage is at a minimum, especially when you take into consideration that Brady is used to this cold weather and used this cold weather for years, he's just as suited to play in this game as Rodgers is, and there's very little home field advantage here. If I can take 3.5, I'm taking it. I like the dog here, and I like them a lot. And when you also throw in the fact that Rodgers is just he's not the clutch guy. I love Rodgers. I think he's more talented than Brady. If you put those two together in their rookie year, I would pick Rodgers every time. But when you look at Brady's career and how clutch he is at the end, and last week was a perfect example, the guy is just a true professional. I'm going with Brady here over Rodgers. It's basically one-on-one. Who's better? And right now, I think Brady's better.
Philly Godfather, you were 4-0 last week on the NFL. You had an incredible season last year with 64.8%. Is that right? An incredible season?
I think so. This year we were right around 59%. But the better news is, John, we're holding 2 futures. One on the Buffalo Bills at 30-1 and one on this Tampa Bay team with Tom Brady at 50-1. So we're in a great position.
Which you both given out on this podcast, by the way.
At the beginning of the year, obviously. And I know all the haters out there are on suicide watch because of that, but it's no big deal. They'll be okay.
Who do you got in this matchup on Sunday? Are you going with the Rooster here and the Tom Brady over the incredible Aaron Rodgers?
Well, when this price opened up originally, what was Packers -3? I'm starting to see some 3.5s pop up in the market. At first glance, I thought it might be a little short, considering the fact that the Packers won 2 more games this year than Tampa Bay. They got the slightly better overall point differential. And they're playing at home in Lambeau Field. I mean, we all know over the last 50 NFC championship games, I think the home team won 37 of them. But when you start digging a little deeper on how good this Green Bay Packers team is, it kind of makes sense that these two teams would be basically a coin flip on a neutral field. The reality is the only teams the Packers have beaten all year with winning records was way back in week 3 against the Saints. and they beat a Tennessee Titans team in Week 15, who had one of the worst defenses in the NFL this year, and over recent play had some of the worst opponent yards per play metric that we've ever seen, in the NFL. So right now I'm leaning Tampa Bay a little bit, plus the 3.5 if you can find it. The only problem is Antonio Brown didn't practice. He's a little banged up. Darby is banged up for this team, running back. I'm going to wait a little bit to see exactly who's playing, who's not playing, because the weather's going to be a big factor here. They're talking about 25 degrees, winds around 25 miles an hour, wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour, snow. So the team that runs the ball better is going to win this game, in my opinion. I know Aaron Rodgers hasn't showed up in these NFC Championship games. He's just 1-3. But, I mean, he's more mobile than Tom Brady is. So if you can't throw the ball down the field and you got a more mobile quarterback, it could, cause some problems for that Tampa Bay defense. That's one of the best at stopping the run. I'm going to wait a little bit. I haven't decided which way to go. I'm leaning Tampa Bay plus 3.5, but I'm going to wait to give it out later in the week, when I know everyone's playing.
Man, I want to get your take on the NFL game, but first of all, is that a Hands of Steel Roberto Duran jersey behind you, row behind you?
That's exactly what it is. And speaking on this game, Tampa Bay, we had Tampa Bay last week, gave them out. We talked about money line. And then we also actually tweeted adjusted alternate spread -2.5. Earlier in the year, we gave them out when they versed the Packers. I think it was week 6 around, if I'm not mistaken. They crushed them. And I'm looking at this game now, playoff game, and I could talk about all these different metrics, stats, analytics. But the truth is, it's going to come down to which quarterback's going to make more mistakes. And to me, I think Aaron Rodgers will. I think Tom Brady's less likely to make a mistake here. He's been here plenty of times. He's proven time and time again, over and over. He knows what he has to do. He has to not turn over the ball. He has to play smart football, and I think that's exactly what he's going to do. Last time these teams played, Aaron Rodgers had a couple of interceptions, caused them to lose the game. The Bucs got that head of steam, and they couldn't catch up. Now I'm looking at the defenses. Which team is more likely to make the opposing team make some mistakes? And we're looking at Tampa Bay. I think they're 4th in opponent interceptions thrown per game, meanwhile Green Bay is 21st. So I think Tom Brady is less likely to make the mistakes. And Tampa Bay's defense is more likely to make the opponent make the mistake. And I think they're going to win the turnover battle. I think they're going to win this game.
Well, Matt brings up a great point. I mean, in the NFC Championship games, I think Rodgers has thrown 6 touchdowns, but 7 interceptions. And Tom Brady has played so much better in these championship games. So you bring up a great point there, man.
Tampa Bay money line.
Yeah. And listen, I think I called Ronald Jones Ronald Darby. Next time I do that, someone's got to correct me, man.
Not to be confused with Terrence Trent Darby.
Well, last week Tom Brady had no picks, and you had
Right.
4 for New Orleans, and it was a big difference. Harry, are you with Tom Brady on this as well?
Yeah, I actually am. I actually took this plus 3.5 at DraftKings. Had to pay a little bit of an extra juice on it, but I like the Buccaneers. I know they're stepping up in weight class since we've talked a lot about MMA and the fighting game. This week from last week with Aaron Rodgers, but they get Vita Vea back along that defensive front. He's going to return from a broken ankle he suffered back in October. It'll strengthen that front, and they're going to need it because the Pack O-line, as Rooster mentioned, was great last week. They dominated the Rams front with an injured Aaron Donald and ran the ball all over the place. I don't expect them to run it that easy this week against Tampa. Brady is tremendous. We all know, he's the GOAT. But he's so great in cold weather, bad weather. And Rooster's exactly right. It's going to neutralize the home field, especially with limited fans in the building. I think Tampa Bay can hang offensively. Like I said, I already took a little bite out of them. And I would actually maybe even lean to the over in this game. But I like Tampa, plus 3.5.
Well, there's a great stat that supports you there, Harry. 9 times the team has beaten the team during the regular season and faced them in the NFC Championship game. And that team has gone 7-2. They've won the game again 7 times out of 9 times.
Nice.
It supports Tampa Bay.
Rooster, it's a terrible weather there. You've got wind blowing. Harry's talking about he might go over. Are you looking at a total here as well?
I didn't touch a total in this game. I do have a big total bet in the other game, but I'm going to wait and see. Wind is funny. I don't care about snow. I don't care about rain. You give me a sustained 20-mile-an-hour wind with gusts over 25 miles an hour, and I am going under. I don't care who's playing. It doesn't matter how strong your arm is. Wind is a great equalizer of great quarterbacks. And, I learned that early in my career. I used to go under every time it snowed. I'd see rain and go under, and I lost a boatload of money. Wind is the great equalizer, even for the strongest of arms.
Let's go to the last game, and that is to see also who's going to play the winner of the first game in the Super Bowl, and that is the Buffalo Bills. That's a 6:40 p.m. Sunday night game playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and it looks like Mahomes will probably be playing. There's a lot of caveats in that sentence. Mr. Dave Mason from BetOnline, where do you have the money moving and the odds, please?
Chiefs currently 3-point favorites. They're 163 to win outright. Bills play plus 143, over under 54. Unlike the first game, the action's pretty even so far. 51% of the cash is on the Chiefs minus the points. 55% of the money is on the Chiefs outright, and 53% of the cash is on over 54. And we do have some sharp action here at BetOnline over 52.
Philly Godfather, I know you're holding a future, as you mentioned, on the Buffalo Bills. You've been right about the Bills Mafia all year. Are you riding the Bills Mafia again? And what do you think about Mahomes? Do you have any info on this, or does it make a difference to you if Mahomes plays?
Well, before I start, I know Rooster, he's a little personal bias with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's in love with Andy Reid, and you can't blame him. I mean, that call he made last week on fourth down surprised everybody. And I wish he had those type of cojones in Philly, but he went to Kansas City and grew some big ones. And all of a sudden, I got to give him a lot of respect. And I know Rooster's probably going to be on the Chiefs, but I took Buffalo. I took Buffalo plus 3.5. I'm not hedging my future. I'm all in with the Bills Mafia. I took them on the money line. I don't care, man. This is a team that put up 501 points this year, second only to the Green Bay Packers. I mean, their offense is unreal. They won 7 games against teams with winning records this year, if you count Miami twice. That's the most in the NFL. Josh Allen has been lights out under pressure. So go ahead, try and blitz him to see what happens. He's going to crush you. And the Chiefs pass rush is mediocre at best this year. They're not – I mean, last year they had a solid pass rush. This year they're ranked 18th or 19th in the NFL in pressure rate. I mean, Buffalo boasts the 4th or 5th best offensive line in the NFL this year, and their defense is finally healthy. And you know who's not healthy, John? Patrick Mahomes. I love Buffalo here catching the points on the road against a team whose superstars banged up. I mean, he's got the foot thing. He's got the nerve thing in his neck. I think Buffalo crushes this team, man. The whole world, by game time, there's going to be a lot more money on the Chiefs than the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo's the real deal. They've beaten 5 teams this year who rank in the top 10 in defensive efficiency. And I know Rooster's going to be all over Kansas City. And me and him are going to have a big wager this week. I don't care. Buffalo's going to crush it.
Well, Rooster, one thing I love this past week, and I'm not making fun of it because I really did love it, was Tony Romo saying, you can see his body posture. They're not going to snap the ball. They're trying to draw. He just snapped the ball. It turned out to be an incredible call by Tony Romo by mistake, which he covered it well. It was terrific. Nobody thought he'd snap the ball. You say you got a big over, you got a bet on the total on this, but Philly Godfather is teeing up the Bills Mafia. What do you think about your old boy here, Andy Reid?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to tell a quick Andy Reid story. I'm going to make it quick so I don't waste a lot of time here. But when Andy Reid's son died, his son's funeral was literally right next to my house. There's a Mormon church down the street from my house. So my daughter threw up a flag that said, God bless the Reid family. I didn't even know she did it. Well, we went out to dinner the next day, and when I came back, we had one of the funeral flowers sitting on my porch with a note saying to call the Reid family, who then gave us tickets to the next Eagles game in the owner's box. It was a great story. They're a tremendous family. I can't say enough good stuff about the Reids. I'm telling you, they are down-to-earth people. And when the Eagles fans shipped him out of town, as the Philly Godfather knows, I was fit to be tied because we gave up one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. But that being said, I'm going to get to the game. And I don't let that bias my opinion, but to me, this one is an easy one for the Chiefs. When you look at the matchup between quarterback and coach, and this is that classic matchup, you have Mahomes Reed against Alan McDermott. And you know my feeling on coaches that are in good shape. They do not spend enough time looking at film. You can look at Andy Reid and say, okay, this is all this guy does his whole life. And you saw his game plan last week. And when his quarterback went down, everybody in the country gave up on him. That was it. They were losing that game. The momentum was all on Cleveland's side. And what did he do? He stuck a dagger right in their heart. He went on 4th down with a crazy play. I almost jumped out of my window when I saw this play. I thought it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And he comes through big time like he usually does. The guy's amazing. Now, let me first say what I did on the total, because this game opened right around 51, which is a key number, went straight through 54, which is another key number. And I went under 55.5 for my biggest total bet of the year. Now, it's down to around 54 now. Dave knows better than me. That's what I'm saying, 54. But I went under 55.5 big. And I'm also going to be on the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs win this game easily, running away. Josh Allen is not ready for this spot. We know Patrick Mahomes is. He's kind of healthy. I mean, did he have a concussion? I'm not sure. I looked at both sides of the argument. Jay Glazer came out and said that somebody cut off his oxygen supply in his neck, and he didn't have a concussion. But I think he's going to be healthy. He ran into the locker room like nothing had even happened, even during the game. And they said he practiced pretty much full today. And Mahomes is better than Allen, and Reed is much better than McDermott. So to me, this is an easy one. Coach quarterback combination, Chiefs easy.
Matt, we got a little split here going on so far. Are you the first tiebreaker on this?
I got the Bills Mafia. We give them out. And a big reason why is we're looking at the Chiefs. We're looking at the Bills. The Bills have been covering and outperforming the market all year. The Chiefs, meanwhile, they haven't covered, I think, the last 8-9 games. So to me, good teams win, great teams cover. I'm taking the Bills, and I actually like them a little bit on the money line.
Yeah, I mean, they won 9 of the last 10 by double digits. I mean, the Chiefs are barely surviving, barely winning these games. I don't know what Rooster's thinking. This is going to be a blowout. The Bills are going to crush this team. We both agree on the total, on the under, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to score against this defense that shut down Lamar Jackson last week and proved to the world that they're unstoppable. They got a top 2 offense, number 1 and number 2 in the league, a top 10 defense. The Chiefs defense stinks. They're going to shut Mahomes down.
Hold on. Let me chime back in, because one thing that we know for sure is that if last week Mahomes did not get hurt, they win that game by at least 14 points.
But how about that touchdown where they went to the goal line, reached it out, barely. It was a fumble, ended up being a touchback. Should have been a touchdown.
Should have been helmet to helmet.
Should have been a helmet
on Kansas City.
They put up 22 points against one of the worst defenses in football.
Should have been, would have been, could have been. They would have won that game by 14 easy if Mahomes didn't go out. They're going to win this game going away. Josh Allen's is going to go home with his behind in his hand, and McDermott's better stop working out so much and start worrying about football. This is going to be an easy one.
I'm glad they didn't win that game by 14 or more last week, because the line would be a little bit higher this week. I'm with you, Rooster, on both of these games. I like the Chiefs.
Oh, if Harry's with me, I'm changing everything.
Oh boy, I already took the Chiefs. At -3.
Baby.
For those that are watching on our syndicated radio, Harry Mays almost had a heart attack when Philly Godfather picked Buffalo Bills.
I couldn't believe. No, he said they're going to win going away. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Are you? No way. The Chiefs minus.
You guys are in love with this Chiefs team from last year.
Oh, stop. They win by 4 to 7 points. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to return. They ran it for almost 6 yards a crack the last time they played Buffalo. They're going to be able to run the football. Mahomes is fine. Forget about it. Going away, the Chiefs. Andy Reid's going to be barbecue.
They said the same thing last week. The Ravens were going to run all over the Bills. Didn't matter.
The greatest inside,
well, they did kind of.
The greatest inside betting tip of the year.
There's no win in this game. Last week, those wins cost the Buffalo Bills 2 touchdowns. He overthrew the guy twice in the end zone because those wins were whipping. This week, there's no wins in Kansas City. Josh is going to have the biggest game of his life.
The greatest insider betting tip in the world history is this, the Philly Roosters. If the coach looks good, fade him.
I love that.
I just love it. It makes perfect sense to me, but it is awesome. Well, there you have it, guys. That is Follow the Action. As you can see, our guys very much believe in their positions, and we've been killing it. So here you have all the information for the NFL, for the UFC, for the PGA, a little stock tip where the market's headed. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to go to our YouTube show regularly, our YouTube channel, Follow the Action, all types of exclusive tips and info on there. Good luck this week. Have a great week.